And now it's time for the Fresh Outlook Lightning Round, where we touch briefly on the many events that also made news this week. On the panel for this segment, psychologist Dr. Bart Rossi. You're almost a regular today.
Almost a regular.
Okay. Attorney Cynthia Augello and Donovan Brown has joined us as well, sticking around. All right, so lots happened this week, and we just want to touch on them briefly. Pope Francis and Donald Trump in some sort of a battle here of words. If you go after the Pope, can you win that one?
His campaign is centered around ad hominems and personal attacks against individuals, so this doesn't surprise me.
And how do you attack the Pope and come out better on the other side?
At this point, we don't know. I mean, if I were Trump's advisors, I would advise him not to do that, along with the other things. I think it's going to hurt him in the long run.
I think he probably shouldn't be commenting or attacking the Pope either. That just doesn't work out well for anybody.
I noticed as well that in this particular statement he made with regard to this issue, he read. He didn't ad lib it. He read right off two pieces of paper. I think even he knew the gravity of it and wanted to make sure his words were correct. That's very un-Donald Trump-like, isn't it?
It is, but I think it shows that Donald Trump against one person, the Pope, of course, here, has trouble because he can deflect when there's all kinds of candidates, but one-on-one he's going to have problems going forward. He may get the nomination, but once he's on with somebody one-on-one, he's going to have more difficulty because the Pope made it very clear, you build bridges, you don't build walls. Very crystal clear. What happened? Trump had problems.
Is that the psychology of a bully? Somebody who can take on a group but one-on-one has a problem?
Yeah.
As a psychologist?
Yeah, and arrogance too.
Okay, I want to be known as Dr. Cipolla now because I figured that out by myself. The Pope also, or I should say the Pope is visiting South America, big trip there, going to Cuba as well. This is something that has been in the works for quite some time. Good move?
Sure, it's a good move. I think the Pope going and expressing his message, I mean, the guy makes sense. He just projects a real person and man of faith. And he should be commended for the way he presents himself.
I think it's easy as well because he comes from South America originally. Mm-hmm. He's not a European Pope, he's a South American Pope, so it makes it easier for him. Would you agree?
I do. He's a very well-liked individual, and I think the more attention and the more exposure that individuals have with him, it's a good thing.
While we're on the subject of Cuba, President Obama is visiting Cuba. Now, for my entire life, Cuba was persona non grata, to use a term. And now we have warmed up relations. He's going to meet with the president of Cuba, Raul Castro. Is this the beginning of the end, or are we past the beginning of the end and now we're heading toward regular relations? Well, Cynthia, your view of that.
I think that hopefully he can start some communications and get Cuba to be a little bit more free. Mm-hmm. If he could start those communications, that would be great.
I think it's a smart move.
It makes you wonder why we did this. Well, we know why we did this to begin, but why it lasted so long.
Well, again, what the Pope said, you build bridges.
Right.
And we've been angry, we've been nasty, we've been fighting, and what have we got? What's happened over 54 years? Basically nothing. We don't gain anything. And by the way, we're talking about jobs and business. Now we have more people going to be employed, more travel. It's all good for the United States. But they still don't want to give the president a plus here, give him a check mark for at least trying to do something positive. And in the long run, he's going to probably be a winner on this one too, because the relations are going to improve and it will look better in time.
Donovan Brown, you teach political science. He's working on his legacy now, isn't Obama?
I think so. I think it's a great idea for him to visit Cuba, particularly when you look at the New York State delegation. Governor Cuomo and other officials already been to Cuba and said, hey, let's establish relations. Let's see what economic opportunities may benefit both Cuba and the state of New York.
I find it interesting he did it in his second term, when most of the international work of a president is done because he or she is not running for re-election, and they know they can do something like that. Is this his legacy year in general?
I think so. I'm sure he's looking to reflect upon how he will be viewed once his term is over, and perhaps this is something we'll find in one of the books.
Not to be a supporter or not, but I find it interesting that unlike past presidents, he went through the second term, almost through the second term, without any major scandal, which is interesting. As a presidential historian, I find that interesting. All right, let's talk about Walmart raising their minimum wage even higher. The biggest retailer in the world is now going to pay its employees more money. What does this signify, if anything, Cynthia?
You know what? I think it's a great move on the part of Walmart. I think that this is a second phase of their upping the minimum wage there, and everybody will be impacted by it, and it's a good way to hold on to their employees, you know, with the economy the way it is, and it's a great time for them to try to hold on to their employees.
Does it make sense? They're making more money, so they will spend more money, and possibly at Walmart.
It does. It absolutely makes more sense, and that's the way it works. You make more, you spend more.
And now they raising their minimum wage, and I know that McDonald's has been talking about it as well. When a big company, a major corporation, an international company sees Walmart raise its minimum wage, are they almost compelled to do the same?
Yeah, you know, I'll be interested to find out whether or not this has a domino effect across the board. I know it's with the minimum wage increase came 154 or will come 154 store closures in the United States of Walmart. So you kind of have to take the good with the bad, but I'm curious to see how this plays out in the long run.
Get into the psychology of this.
Yeah, the effect on this is just amazing to me, because think about it. People who are working 40, 50 hours a week, now they're going to be making more money. Well, guess what? Maybe they won't qualify for food stamps. And we did a segment on Fresh Outlook, I mean, it was a couple years ago, and I took a very conservative point of view. Like, why are my tax dollars going to someone who's working and they still qualify for food stamps? Why doesn't the company that's making billions of dollars have a pay raise so that they don't qualify for food stamps?
But besides the political aspect of it, and there is, but there must be a psychological boost to you to know that you're going to be taking over home another maybe $40, $50, $60 a week.
Absolutely, and it makes you feel good about your employer too. It's a win all the way around, and why people are so negative about it, I can't figure it out, because it's a win.
To play devil's advocate, they say, well, the price of what we sell is going to go up. McDonald's has been saying that, even Domino's Pizza. Yeah, we raise minimum wage and you're going to have to pay more for a pizza.
Sure. By how much? Right? That's always the devil within the details.
That's always what's left out.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, Harper Lee, who wrote the great book In Cold Blood, and another book that followed. I'm sorry, it wasn't In Cold Blood, it was To Kill a Mockingbird. Thank you. I had a brain burp there. I read last night that she actually assisted in the writing of In Cold Blood, or at least contributed to that in some way, shape, or form. But she wrote one book and then disappeared. And then wrote another one a couple of years ago, a sequel to it. Would we call her a literary giant for that one book?
You know, To Kill a Mockingbird got a lot of people talking, at least thinking about race and racism in America, and how we look at individuals who may or may not be different, or our perceptions of individuals who we believe to be different. So I think for that, at that point in time, To Kill a Mockingbird did serve the country well, at least getting us to think about something that we don't like talking much about.
This is one of the great literary works of American literature, and I'm always curious when an author does it and then just disappears.
Well, I think the answer is yes to your question. I really do. I think if someone has such a tremendous impact with one volume, it's so overwhelming, over the top, that yes, I think that is, she does qualify.
Is the psychology is when they do that, I may not be able to top this?
It may be just what she's thinking. Maybe she feels she's presented her thoughts and it's all together, it's all in one piece. Maybe that's her, you know? That's the way she feels about herself.
All right, Newsweek is celebrating an anniversary today. This magazine has been around since 1933. It was published actually on this date in 1933. Now, we know what's happening with magazines and print in general, but for some reason, Newsweek still seems to hang on, and also online. Great magazine. I used to read it when I was a kid. You as well?
Indeed, absolutely. They say print journalism's dead. Maybe this is not necessarily the
Do you
case.
still read it?
I do.
The print version?
I do.
Cynthia?
It is one of the few magazines that I will pick up in a print version.
Okay, you're not kidding here, right?
Not at
No.
all.
Dr. Rossi.
Me too. I even like to get a newspaper in the morning and read a real newspaper.
There are some people out there right now saying, what is a newspaper?
I understand.
But I understand that. We talked about younger kids going online now, getting
yeah.
their information, you know, and not even looking at a magazine. We thank you very much for joining us. And just to clarify, Harper Lee actually assisted Truman Capote in some way, shape, or form in writing In Cold Blood. I apologize for the error. Thanks for joining us on Fresh Outlook. On behalf of the panelists and all the talented people who work behind the scenes, I'm Frank Cipolla. We'll see you next time.